They walk into the room and the air shifts. People lower their voices. Eyes are drawn. Time seems to slow. These are not celebrities, not the rich, not the powerful by title, but they carry something rare, something unteachable. It is not charm. It is not likability. It is the heavy cloak of respect. You feel it in your spine before your mind can name it. They don't speak loudly. They don't plead to be heard. They exist in full contrast to the noise, and the silence obeys. You wonder, what is it that they have that you don't? What secret have they swallowed that turned them into gravity? You were taught to be kind, to be agreeable, to be liked, and yet none of that brought you power. You smile, and the world ignores it. You accommodate, and they take more. You say yes, and they forget you even spoke. The truth is brutal. Your addiction to approval is the leash around your neck. And the people who own your respect, they never begged for yours. They never asked. They demanded, without a word. Do you see the difference? One posture bends, the other holds. If that offends you, good. Let it burn. Let it start the fire. Now drop this in the comments. Respect over approval. They told you that being liked would open doors, that being easygoing would make you lovable. But look around, are the most liked people the ones in control? No. The ones who bend over backwards are also the ones stepped on the most. Likability is cheap. It's a currency spent by the powerless. And the world knows it. You taught people how to treat you by showing them that you'll endure anything for a smile, and now you're drowning in politeness while starving for dignity. Every yes you gave when you wanted to say no carved a little more of your backbone away. Respect doesn't come from being nice, it comes from being necessary, from being untouchable, from being someone who doesn't need the room, but makes the room feel incomplete without them. You think boundaries push people away? No, they filter. They separate the parasites from the real ones. They turn noise into silence, chaos into order. You've been playing the wrong game. You've been trading your power for crumbs of validation. Now it's time to flip the board. Speak less, move sharper, watch them adjust. If this is hitting a nerve, and it should, you think silence means weakness, but it doesn't. Silence is strategy. The most dangerous man in the room is the one who says nothing and sees everything. He doesn't rush to defend himself. He doesn't over-explain. He lets people misjudge him and then punishes their assumptions with precision. You, on the other hand, fill every second with noise. You talk to be accepted. You explain to be understood. You open your chest and hand people your heart, hoping they don't crush it. But they do, again and again, because you never taught them to fear losing you. Fear is not cruelty, it is clarity. When people know there's a price for disrespect, they hesitate, they pause. That pause is your power. It's the distance between being overlooked and being untouchable. Want to be liked? Stay predictable. Want to be respected? Become a question no one can answer. Let them wonder where they stand. Let them feel the tension of your silence. Stop explaining, start enforcing. People will either adjust to your new standards or disappear. Both outcomes are victories. Control. That's what this is really about. Every conversation, every interaction, every glance, someone is steering. Someone is shaping the outcome. And if you don't know who it is, it's not you. Approval seekers lose before the game begins. They edit their words before they speak. They scan faces for micro-reactions. They live in a constant performance, hoping for applause that never comes. What they don't realize is that every compromise, every fake smile, every swallowed truth is a little funeral for their self-respect. You cannot be in control of your life while needing permission to be yourself. True power begins when approval ends. When your yes means something because your no is real. When your silence speaks louder than their manipulation. When someone disrespects you and they lose access. No drama, no lecture, just absence. That's what scares them. Not shouting, not arguments, but the cold void where you used to be. That's what teaches. You've been rewarding bad behavior with your presence. You've made yourself easy to hurt, easy to use. And once you're safe to disrespect, respect becomes impossible. You've been trained like a lab rat. Press a button, get approval, do the dance, get the like, play nice, get the compliment. It's not kindness, it's conditioning. A dopamine loop built to control you. And the worst part, you participated. You made yourself easy to manipulate. They learned quickly. Flatter you and you'll stay. Praise you and you'll comply. Disapprove and watch you break. You handed out the remote control to your emotions, smiling through insults, forgiving, disrespect, apologizing for existing. All for what? For being tolerated? For being their emotional convenience? People don't respect the agreeable. They exploit them. They don't admire your tolerance. They count on it. They don't value your sacrifices. They expect them. This is not a miscommunication, it's a hierarchy. You gave them the script and they followed it. But what happens when you stop playing the role? When you say no and mean it? When you vanish instead of negotiate? When your standards become steel and not suggestions? That's when the mask slips. That's when the real dynamics reveal themselves. Most won't like the new you, and that's how you'll know it's working. The need to be liked is a modern sickness, soft, smiling, and deadly. It wears the mask of humility, but hides the chains of dependency. You change your opinions depending on who's listening. You shrink your truth to fit their comfort. You present fragments, never the whole. You're not a person, you're a collage of masks, and the more you wear them, the more you forget the face beneath. Authenticity scares people because it cannot be controlled. It confronts, it cuts, it reveals, and most people would rather love the illusion of you than face the truth you're hiding. But something happens when you stop needing their approval. You become dangerous, untouchable. You stop seeking validation and start living by conviction. You don't bend anymore. You decide. And people feel that. The ones who tried. To mold you suddenly panic. Their influence fades. Their games fail. Your refusal becomes your power. You don't have to be cruel, just immovable. Not rude, just real. Because when you are no longer addicted to being liked, you finally have room to be respected. And when respect enters, manipulation flees. Most people are terrified of being disliked, so they trade themselves away in pieces, one compromise at a time. They say yes when they mean no. They laugh at jokes that insult them. They keep people around who drain them, just to avoid discomfort. This is not kindness, it's fear in costume. A life of self-erasure performed for scraps of connection. But there is no respect in self-erasure. There is no dignity in being everyone's second choice. You cannot build a powerful life on the foundation of emotional begging, and the world doesn't reward the agreeable, it devours them. Now think of the people you truly respect, the ones who command rooms without raising their voices. They're not the most agreeable, they're the most solid. They speak with weight because they value silence, they don't rush to please, they choose when and if to give. Their presence feels expensive because it is. Scarcity is power. When you're always available, you become invisible. But when you learn to say no, not with anger but with certainty, you become rare. And rarity demands attention. You don't need more charm, you need more refusal. Respect is not granted by accident, it's forged. Through boundaries, consequence, and the quiet force of self-regard. You want people to treat you better? Stop rewarding them for treating you worse. Remove your time, withdraw your energy, make access to you a privilege, not a given. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you devalue yourself in their eyes. Every time you excuse it, you train them to repeat it. You think forgiveness makes you noble, but when offered too freely, it becomes permission. You're not healing the relationship. You're reinforcing the abuse. And here's the hard truth. The people who vanish when you set boundaries were never there for you. They were there for your compliance, for your silence, for your availability. Your transformation will offend them because they were only loyal to your weakness. But let them go, burn the bridges that led you to self-betrayal. You are not here to be convenient. You are not here to be digestible. You are here to be true. And truth, real truth, is never universally liked. But it is always deeply respected. Power is not loud. It doesn't announce itself with shouting or desperation. Real power is still. It listens more than it speaks. It acts without explaining. It moves without needing applause. Approval seekers flood the room with noise, hoping to be seen, to be chosen, to be validated. But power does not hope. It chooses. It defines the terms, or it walks away. When you stop chasing approval, you'll notice something strange. The world starts to lean in. Because mystery attracts, scarcity intrigues, And the person who needs nothing becomes the one everyone wants. Most people don't want truth. They want comfort. They don't want to be challenged. They want to be entertained. And in that shallow exchange, the people pleaser thrives. But not you. Not anymore. You're not here to be a background character in someone else's script. You're not here to twist yourself into shapes that fit their fragile egos. You're here to unsettle, to disrupt, to walk into rooms like a question mark, not an answer. And those who can't handle your presence, let them choke on your absence. There's a brutal elegance to self-respect. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it simply withdraws. Not in bitterness, but in clarity. And in that silence, the world reconfigures itself. Those who disrespected you will feel the void where your compliance used to be. They'll mock your distance at first, call you cold, arrogant, selfish. But listen closely. That's the sound of power unsettling comfort. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer easy to control. That makes you dangerous. And that danger isn't violence, it's self-possession. It's the realization that you don't owe anyone access to your peace. When you stop over-explaining, people begin to listen more carefully. When you stop showing up for every request, people start valuing your time. When you stop apologizing for existing, you become immovable. The boundary you feared would push people away. It pushes away the wrong people. And what remains, what survives, is real. Respect is not universal, it's selective. It's carved by standards and sustained by consequences. You want to be liked by everyone? Prepare to be respected by no one. Because the crowd doesn't respect the performer. They respect the director, the one who never asked for their applause. The ones who taught you to be agreeable, they lied. They weren't preparing you for freedom. They were preparing you for obedience. From classrooms to office halls, from family dinners to friend circles, you were trained to prioritize harmony over truth, niceness over strength, acceptance over integrity. And yet, no one told you the cost. That in choosing harmony, you would silence your instincts. That in choosing niceness, you would suffocate your rage. That in choosing to be accepted, you would vanish entirely. You are not here to be digestible. You are here to be undeniable. Every time you shrink, the world grows colder. Every time you nod while your soul screams, you become an accomplice in your own erasure. But here's the shift, the rebellion, the revolt. You don't need to be loud to be felt. You don't need to be cruel to be powerful. You only need to be certain. Certain of your worth, certain of your limits. Certain that anyone who asks you to betray yourself, even gently, is not a friend, but a thief. And when you start living like that, with spine and silence, you stop auditioning for roles in other people's lives. You write your own script and cast only the worthy. They will test you, make no mistake. The moment you stop being soft, they'll poke, they'll push, they'll provoke. They want the old you, the compliant one, the apologetic one, the predictable puppet who smiled through betrayal. But don't give them what they want. Let them feel the steel beneath your silence. You don't owe them softness. You don't owe them access. You don't owe anyone a version of you that abandons itself for their comfort. They will say you've changed, and they will be right. You finally buried the version of yourself that needed to be loved more than it needed to be respected. And in that funeral, something rises. A new posture, a new presence. You walk into a room, and you no longer ask for space, and you take it, not with noise, but with weight. People don't know why they watch you, why their words slow down when you look at them, why their excuses die in their throats. It's because they feel it. You are no longer waiting for permission to exist. You are the storm they can't predict. You are the silence they can't decipher. And once you've tasted this kind of power, clean, unspoken, undeniable, you will never beg again. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. Let them twist your silence into arrogance, your distance into cruelty. That is the tax of power. Misinterpretation by the weak. They want to decode you, label you, box you up into something they can dismiss. But they can't. Because you no longer react the way they expect. You don't flinch, you don't explain, you don't correct the rumors. You become a mirror, reflecting their insecurities, their projections, their discomfort with someone who no longer needs their praise. That discomfort, that's their problem, not yours. And watch how it reshapes the landscape. Cowards will retreat, manipulators will rage, but the real ones, they'll rise to meet you. Because true respect is not born in comfort, it's born in friction, in the unyielding presence of someone who refuses to betray themselves. They may not always like you, they may never fully understand you, but they will think twice before disrespecting you. And that hesitation, that pause, that recalculation is the purest currency of power. You no longer walk among the crowd, you walk beside yourself, and that is more than enough. You used to think that love and respect were twins, that earning one meant receiving the other. But time has taught you the truth. Love can be given without respect. You can be adored and still discarded, praised and still undermined. The world is full of charming tyrants and lovable leeches. Respect, however, is different. It's earned through presence, through consequence, through the refusal to be owned. Respect doesn't flow to the nicest, it flows to the clearest. And clarity is a blade. It cuts through sentiment, through confusion, through every false connection that begged for your energy but never gave you truth. So, you become clear. Not perfect, not agreeable, not soft, just clear. About who you are, about what you'll allow, about what you'll never tolerate again. And that clarity radiates. It seeps into your posture, your tone, your silence. People sense it, even when they don't understand it. They shift around you, instinctively recalibrating, because you are no longer cheap. Your time is no longer for sale. Your peace is no longer rented. You are rare now, and rarity makes noise, even in stillness. Some will leave. Let them. Some will say you've become selfish, cold, unreachable. Let them speak. Their discomfort is not your call to shrink. It's their signal to evolve or exit. You're not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to embody it, fully, ferociously, without apology. The more you protect your peace, the more they'll call it arrogance. That's fine. Arrogance is what the insecure call boundaries they can't cross. And if your dignity feels like distance to them, maybe they were never close, just entitled. Distance is not rejection, it is refinement. It's how you filter out the ones who only knew how to love you when you were easy to use. Let your absence echo. Let your silence scream. You are no longer the echo of their needs. You are the sound of your own awakening. Let them feel the weight of your unavailability. If they step up, good. If they step off, better. Because the ones who respect you will adjust. The ones who don't will reveal themselves. Either way, you win. There is a version of you hidden beneath the pleasing, the apologizing, the over-explaining that is unshakable. That version doesn't beg. It doesn't explain its worth. It doesn't dilute its presence for anyone's comfort. It moves through the world like a force of nature, silent when it wants to be, loud when it needs to be, never where it isn't respected. You don't have to become someone new. You only have to remember who you were before the world convinced you that being liked was survival. The real you was never soft, just suppressed. When that version rises, everything shifts. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop asking and start choosing. You stop explaining and start enforcing. Your life becomes quieter but heavier, simpler but sharper. And the peace you gain isn't the kind that keeps everyone happy. It's the kind that keeps you free. Free from roles, free from manipulation, free from the exhausting need to be understood. You become the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't fold, the one who, in a world of approval addicts, chooses power instead. You've made it here, to the edge where the old you dissolves and the real you begins. There is no applause waiting, no crowd cheering you on, only silence and the raw truth of your own becoming. That's the final test. Can you walk forward without needing to be seen? Can you hold your standards without needing them to be accepted? Because that's what power is, walking away from the need to be liked and walking toward the certainty of who you are. The lion does not ask the sheep for permission to roar. He roars, and the forest adjusts. This isn't just a mindset. It's a metamorphosis, a return to the version of you that commands, not begs, that decides, not performs, that builds a life around purpose, not permission. The world doesn't need another agreeable echo. It needs thunder. Be the storm. Move with weight. Love with fire. Cut with clarity. And when they finally see, really see you, it won't be because you demanded their approval. It'll be because you no longer needed it. That is the moment everything changes. That is the birth of respect. That is your return to power.